Okay, I'm recording. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 10 of Food for Thought. My name is David.
My name is Kim. And today we have... Get to everybody.
My name's Ange. Nice to meet you all.
What up, Ange? Thank you, everyone. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome to the party. How are you?
Yeah, good. I was just saying to you guys, and I was saying to everyone, I was like, the best part of the whole chat is always the start when you first say hello to each other, because it's the catch-up time and you get all the banter and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend you guys sneakily starting record from the start. You'll get some, I'm sure.
Can you see it when it says record? Does it come up on your screen?
Yeah, it's not very subtle. It's
I feel like
a
like, yeah. Well, that's cool. Good idea. I'm just gonna do it next time.
Yeah,
Just
for
record
sure.
and just see what happens. But so we thought we'd catch up with you because we haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
How is your ISO and how is quarantine and how's everything with things lifting at the moment as well?
Yeah, to be honest, I feel like absolutely nothing changed in my life in terms of ISO, because I've always worked from home, so it didn't really change too much, and my attendance at uni was pretty poor, so also didn't change very much. So the only thing that changed was obviously me. I think gyms closing was a difference, and then cafes itself. But I was so busy during that time that it really didn't feel like it affected much. And also I live in a big Asian family with a lot of people, so like being bored was never a thing. And like I've got two grandmas that are with us now who literally do the wackiest things, man.
Like
I'll wake up at like 8 o'clock and I'm like, yeah, that's early, and I'll look out the window in the kitchen and they're like cementing the cement. Already, like just cementing random stuff on the ground.
Wow.
Like squatting around the backyard, just cementing, and like 8 o'clock in the morning.
They just love doing stuff, huh? Like they always find something to stay active with, you know what I mean? And like we're like, oh, I'm so bored. Like
yeah, they honestly do. Like for Mother's Day, my dad got my grandma a leaf blower.
Wow.
Nice.
Like, never rest. He's like, yeah, you don't deserve a rest. You keep blowing some leaves.
Here, go do some more work.
Yeah, pretty much. So, no, not much changed other than obviously it was definitely sad seeing it all unravel around the world. But for me personally, I was kept pretty busy, and I have a massive family that's always lots of fun. So, and I'm really one of the lucky ones in that, you know, I didn't lose a job. If anything, it was even busier than it would have been because it's all online stuff. So, yeah, and my family's been really lucky too. So no one in my family really has or did lose any job. Like my sister's in the health world, and my other sister's in teaching. My mum's in like a receptionist in a medical center, and dad's in kind of software development, which, yeah. So no one really lost their jobs. So it was just more so tough watching your friends lose jobs and businesses. And
just for the listeners, what do you do?
So I just like to take my trips down to the kitchen.
I mean, for job. For work. Let me finish.
What do you do in general?
That's my casual job. I play well on the weekends. But no, I consult and strategize and create content and manage social media for a bunch of brands.
Nice.
So, yeah. So obviously when everything else is shut down, everything goes online, which meant my job was even bigger than it normally is. And then the thing that I offer, I guess, is the actual content making side of it as well as the management side, because I think a lot of agencies will have two separate teams for that. One's a management, like scheduling and all that, captioning and planning, and then they'll have a creative team that makes the assets that gives it to them. whereas I kind of just do both.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. How'd you get into that?
Like when I was like 18 or something, I reached out to Sarah, who's now like my best mate, and she owns Matcha Maiden and Matcha Milk Bar. And she had been friends with my sister like back in the day, and we kind of all lost touch. And then we reached back out, and Matcha Maiden is, I reckon, one of the pioneers in e-commerce on Instagram, or businesses on Instagram. And I said, if you ever need help with anything, let me know, because it'll be fun to just keep my hands busy in something else that's not physio based. So because I'm still full-time, I'm my last year of physio, so I'll graduate next year. And then she was like, oh, can you help me manage the socials? And me being me, I was like, yeah, I can do that. Mind you, I was not a social media person. I like traveled for 5 months, and I reckon I posted 10 times or something like that. So I was like, yeah, of course. And she was like, oh, can you let's have a photo shoot day? And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, I know what aperture is. I had no idea. So it was a lot of learning on the job, but I'm a very curious person, and I love like learning new things and learning new skills. So I kind of just self-taught all of Adobe, or most of Adobe, and then I feel like Adobe is very much experimental anyway. Like everyone has their own way that they will illustrate something, or
Nobody really knows how to use it.
Nah.
Legit, I don't think
We're all just lying.
yeah, I was like, just say a couple of like jargon, and you'll be like mask and
lasso tool.
Yeah,
then magic wand.
Yeah. Yeah, select subject.
As long as you know more than the client, you're all good.
Pretty much. So I just taught myself that, and then I think I'm a very analytical person too. So and in managing social media, it's very analytical, like understanding the trends and what data actually means. So yeah, it became a thing, and then people kept referring other people to me. So I only really work word of mouth. Like not many people actually know what I do, because it's a bit of impostor syndrome where I don't consider myself like a creative, because I feel like that, you know, people have qualifications. Like you guys are definitely creatives, whereas I'm just like making stuff.
I mean, that's still creative.
Yeah, but I feel like it's probably a thing that you put upon yourself. Me being like, no, there's like creatives, and I'm kind of like just doing it like a hobby or whatever.
Yeah, I had a personal experience with like imposter syndrome for the longest time. I don't know. It was just about like filmmaking, because I didn't go to film school for it. And I remember having a meeting with David, and I was just like, you know, like, oh, because I didn't go to film school. And it was this thing that I just kept saying like, oh, you know, I didn't go to film school. And then he just looked at me and he's just like, yeah, but you've got more experience than anybody that has gone to film school.
Yeah, pretty much.
Experience on the job, you know?
Yeah, and I'm a big, like, it's been 5 years now that I've been doing it practically. So it's a lot of experience in terms of the percentage of my whole life. 5 out of like 23 is a big percentage. So yeah, I just do it word of mouth still though, and I went full time probably at the start of last year, because I just realized I was getting enough referrals to be able to just not work in any other retail job and just do this. That's my thing.
That's crazy. And you built that without even like pushing your own social media.
No, mine is like a whatever, no plan. Like it's on the toilet most of the time, like ad hoc. Sometimes people will be like, "You spelled that wrong," and I'll be like, "I don't really care."
Exactly.
So yeah, my social media is very much just for gags and for fun, and not have to think about anything. So but yeah, it's good.
That's dope. For people that are maybe, I feel like a lot of people who listen to us might be getting into social media or like trying to understand social media. Is there any like, I don't know, lesson that you've learned over your 5 years in terms of building a social media account?
Yeah, totally. I think the number one thing is to know that it changes so rapidly that a strategy you write 6 months ago would probably not apply to now. Like, for example, if you look in the last 3 months, TikTok has blown up, especially over COVID. Everyone kind of it's been around for ages, but all of a sudden it's a norm. It's a it's a non-ageist thing. It's everyone's getting around it now. So, but I wouldn't have predicted that for this year at all. So you can't really write. You got to really, you got to know at the back of your mind that it's always changing. So you're always having to update your plan always. And then the other thing is that I think there's no rules. So people think that there has to look a certain way or feel a certain way, but my biggest thing that is, if each of one of your posts is purposeful for someone, then that's the only rule that there really is if you want a successful page. So like posting for the sake of aesthetics overall doesn't really give you much in the long run. Like it's a thing to look at, but it doesn't really give value to anyone. So if they opened a photo of like a blue tile with a line through it, because in a 9 grid it looks good, but in a single grid, like it's a line on a blue, then if you can make it each one valuable. So my favorite I guess insights to look at isn't really likes and comments at all. It's actually shares and saves, because that's the best indication of if that is actually valuable to people. And then from there you can build on that idea, and it's very experimental. It's like doing your own free market research without having to pay anyone or anything, and there's no hard and fast rule. But the other thing is that people have to be patient with it. I think people think that it comes like super quick growth and following. It absolutely does not come super quick. So it could take years, but if you can stick at it, then you'll get to where you need to be. Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was amazing. That was awesome. I mean, I was not expecting that at all, but
where did Ange go?
Nice, Ange. Damn. Yeah, I feel like that's super valuable for people. I think it's also like a good reminder in terms of like why, and just going back to your purpose in terms of like creating, and whether it's social media or your actual product or service, it's like, why are you doing it, and is this bringing value to people?
Yeah, and I feel like you can't bullshit people as well. Like they know when you are actually putting value into your work and not just like trying to get a quick like.
Yeah, which is why like there's a YouTuber, I forget his name, but he posts I think 1 video a year. He does like all these fun experiments. I'll send it to you guys when I see it. But he does one again. Each time every single video will get like millions of views. Always, because everyone knows how long he took to make that one video. And he's got 1 million or so subscribers in every single video on every platform he posts. Even it's like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, he absolutely smashes it, because each one is very purposeful and he put a lot of time and effort into it. So yeah,
that's awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this is what you're doing now.
Yeah.
What we like to do is, I guess, like uncover stories. So what would you say is your origin story to how you got to creating social media content and managing brands all across Melbourne?
And one in New York.
One in New York.
Yeah.
Nice.
She's worldwide.
She's global. Yeah. How did you get to where you are today? You were mentioning that quote on your wall since you were 12 years old.
The art one.
Yeah. Like what's your origin story? How did you get to who you are now?
Yeah. Well, I think the social media is a very small part is a result of many things. So like when I was 19, I started a food truck with my sister. That was probably the first major awesome thing. But I think for me, I don't know, I think I'm an absolute go-getter, and that builds my purpose. The quote says, life's too short to leave important words unsaid and inspiring things undone. And I very much still live to that today. I reckon I put that up when I was like 12. There's also one real morbid one on my door that says, people always leave.
Oh,
isn't that so sad?
Leave through that door.
What kind of 12-year-old was I? I must have put this so sad. But I think it was a One Tree Hill quote that I just love.
Shout
But yeah,
out.
I like to write my own path always. And my thing is I take the best opportunity at the time that it's given. So if I'm given two, I take the one that's the best one for me at the time. So I don't like to write 5-year plans. I don't really like to write 10-year plans. I don't even like to write 1-year plans because so many things change. And I feel like if we write our own plans, we feel like we have to stay on this path and we never deviate, even though sometimes or most of the time, the best thing that we can do is deviate from the plan. So my origin has always been to work hard and give everything that I have to what I do and only do the things that I love. That's like my number one thing. I only do things that I love and then the rest pretty much follows. So that's how it all started. And I can't tell you that I'll stay in social media and I can't tell you that I'll leave it because when I grow out of love for it will be the time that I do, but I can't tell you when or what that looks like. But that's the origin, I guess, where I come from with everything that I do, no matter what it is.
And where do you think that came from? Like, was there a day or like a time where you felt like, I'm just going to start doing what I love? There has to be like, I guess, a moment where you kind of realize that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, so when I was 17, first year out of uni was probably the first time I made a proper decision that was going to affect a big part of my life. I feel like in high school, you don't have to make major decisions. It's like, do I try out for the sport team or not? But it's not going to change your life if you do or you don't.
Yeah.
Whereas I had gotten into a uni that I had physio as my first preference, and then I got my score, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. And for some reason, I changed it to a course that was even lower than I needed to. But I went to a different university where my friends would be, and I thought lifestyle over like passion for course would be really fun. 4 weeks in, I absolutely hated it and ended up dropping out of the course, and then reapplying for the original one that I had as my first preference. And I think that was the first time I was like, actually, I don't like this. And it's really miserable. And it's affecting me. It's affecting my family, how I respond to them. It's affecting how I'm with my friends, social life, all that jazz. And then I was like, I'm just going to swap. I'm going to take a gap year and I'm going to go traveling. And that traveling was like, I reckon I didn't change me, but it changed how I thought about life and what I wanted to do. Like I literally bought a one-way ticket. And then I came back 5 months later, and it was the freest I've ever been in my whole life because didn't have uni to think about because technically I wasn't enrolled in anything. I didn't have high school to think about. I only had travel. So I was like, I'll never hitchhike. That is so dangerous. Like 3 days in, I was like,
go.
I was like, in my head, I was like, I don't even know if this is a thing or it's just in the movies, but I literally stood on the road like this.
By yourself?
Yeah, by myself.
Dang.
And then I got picked up by these 4 girls who pretty much took me over the border of France, over to Spain. And then I was like cancelling flights. I crashed some couple in their motorhome, and then I like slept on the street one night because I didn't organise accommodation properly.
Oh my god!
It was like,
Wow.
it was all like, but it was so awesome. I was like, this is the best.
Oh my god!
Practically from that point on, I was like, if I just continue to do the things I love, then I'm happier, I'm more productive, things fall in place naturally. And I guess after that first year, I kept doing that and everything kept falling into place naturally. And I was like, it can't really be coincidence for 5 years straight. It's got to be a real product of how you act. So I've just lived by that, and I kind of vow not to do anything that I don't want to do, because if you're a crap employee, it's not beneficial for anyone.
Definitely.
Right.
Okay. So you're Vietnamese, right?
Yeah.
What did your parents think during this time?
They were so angry.
Were they?
Yeah, man. When I dropped out, so secretly, I'm not like super rebel, but I'll go out of the normal path. But when I dropped out of uni that first time, like after 4 weeks, I dropped out in like April or something, and I didn't tell my dad until July. So
Oh,
and I just went to work, and he was like, "Oh, she's such a hard studier." When really I was just like working 40 hours a week.
Wow.
And then I told my mum probably, I think, a month later, because she was like, "Why am I picking you up from all these places that aren't uni?" And she was like, "Do you have class today?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm not actually in uni." And she cried. So it wasn't the best, but at that time, I'm very calculated. So I knew that what I was doing had another plan. Like I wasn't just being reckless, dropping along and having no plan. Like the plan was to reapply. Like I purposely dropped out because if I had dropped out, my transcript scores didn't matter, and therefore I could apply with my ATAR rather than an exam score from uni.
Right.
My ATAR was going to be better than my exam scores. So it was all a strategic move and all calculated in order to get back into physio, which is what I wanted. But they definitely weren't, they were sad. They weren't angry. They were just really, really sad coming from a very academic and Asian upbringing. And going traveling, I didn't tell them until, so my dad realized I was going for like months and months, like a week before.
A week.
Wow.
By the way, I'm going to try
I was like, yeah, I'm going overseas. And then I remember he was in Perth on the day that I was going to leave. And I was like, "Oh, sorry, I won't see you when I leave." Then he goes, "Yeah, but you'll be back soon." I was like, "Oh, no, like maybe 5 months." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, bye."
Oh my God.
No, I wasn't like that. But I was like, "Oh, no, definitely gone for longer." And he was like, "What?" And it wasn't me lying to them. I realized with my parents, it's easier to tell them afterwards, like kind of ask for forgiveness than to tell them first and just go through the wrath of them. But after time, they realize that us kids are really independent and we are switched on with our decisions. So they've grown to very much trust whatever we decide to do. I think being young, they think you're being reckless, but I had a massive plan and I came back with like all this stuff, and like Asian parents, they're like, no, don't do it. And they'll go to their friends, they'll be like, "My daughter went traveling around the world."
True.
Yeah.
It was practically that. But yeah, they've come around a lot to compare to how we were, I guess, brought up in primary school and high school.
Would you travel like that again?
Pardon?
Would you travel like that again? 5 months, no plan?
Yeah, I only ever travel by myself now, really. I only have a backpack. And it's been my motto to go to as many countries as I am years old. So I'm 23 for 23. So I got to keep it going. But
Nice.
I do love, if I get another chance to go for 5 months, I'd definitely do it. But I tend to kind of do the whole book a flight and then not organize anything until I get there.
That's awesome.
Solid. So for the people that are listening, for like if you're, you got Asian parents, you're in a course that you don't really like, or you're in a job that you don't really like, but you're scared of telling them, do you have any tips to go about that? Or, I mean, I know like everyone's different, but I don't know, do you have any advice on how you think might be a good way to go about it?
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard. Like obviously it took me a while to tell my parents. Now I wouldn't mind at all, but I think there comes a time in your life when it's your life to make your own decisions. And so long as you wholeheartedly trust that decision with everything that you have, then you have to just kind of bite the bullet and tell them and really, really believe in yourself that that's your right decision at that time. I think sometimes people are scared because they second guess their decision and maybe it's not right. But if that's really, truly what you want, or you'll be surprised with their reactions too, because once you kind of give them the plan rather than just be like, "I've dropped out," then obviously like anyone, even as a friend, you'd be like, "What's going on?" But if you give them a good blueprint of your plan, being like, "This is my plan," you might not have a plan, but just to be fully transparent with them, you might get there might be some silent treatment, but Asian parents, the thing that they give the most is a lot of love, like a lot of it. So as hard as they are on you, it's all very much out of love.
Yeah.
Like really is. It sounds cliche, but it really, really is out of love. Like as much as we can do wrong, my parents and my mum will always be like, "You're not allowed to move out, even when you're married." I didn't tell you that much. So I think, yeah, I'm not saying you won't get, like, they won't get angry, but you definitely have to bite the bullet and you definitely have to tell them, because you'll be surprised with how they might react. There might be some period of tension, but that always will be resolved. And then they come around to it, actually. Then they kind of learn from you, and they learn that not everything's the black and white and the one path. So just gotta do it. Did you guys have the same kind of thing growing up as well?
Yeah. I feel like my parents are very understanding though. I think I'm one of the lucky ones, and they're pretty cool with me doing what I love, which is like, yeah, pretty good for me in terms of like, because I think I've always like had this thing where if I love something or if I really want to do something, I'll go hard out at it.
Yeah.
And they'll see me just like grinding like every single day on this thing. So they're just like, all right, well, he really likes doing that. So, I mean, yeah, like, you know, do you kind of thing. But I think just like going to uni was the main thing, like for them as Asian parents, was just like, we want you to go to uni and get a degree. And that was it. So once I realized that it could be a degree in anything,
there's the loophole.
Yeah, I was like, I can still graduate in something that I like doing.
In paper mache.
Look, I could have done that. I would have been like so happy at my graduation. Look at that. So yeah, I think I was pretty lucky in terms of that. Once I realized that I didn't have to be a doctor, or I didn't have to be a dentist or whatever, like they would understand, as long as I was, you know, working hard at what I wanted to do. So,
yeah.
How about you?
I think, yeah, my mom is pretty like pretty chill, pretty laid back. But I remember when you were talking, I just had flashbacks of me and my mom on the couch just talking about how I was leaving a manager role at Adidas to go and do flying art. And then I think for her, it was just hard to grasp a creative business. Like, how are you going to make money?
Yeah.
That's what she said. I'm like, Mom,
I'm making videos?
I can do it. Like, I can do this. I was so passionate, and I was just so like, how can you not see this? Like these lines, these connect, you know? Like,
obvious.
I think she just knew, like, I think she couldn't see the potential in it, but she knew that I was deeply passionate about it.
Yeah. I think, I feel like Asian parents, unless it's going to make you a lot of money, they don't see it as successful.
Yeah.
The misunderstanding with things like art and creative areas. But I'm a big believer that if you're passionate in what you do, then that you'll become successful as a side product of what you do, really.
Yeah, it's pretty ironic because my mum named me like after Bruce Lee Long, the way that's what they called him. And so it's funny because you know who Bruce Lee is because of film, you know, and I'm doing film as well. It's like a full circle kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, that's good. That I'm glad. I feel like that's something that happens in all Asian households, but not really understood by the wider community that's not Asian.
Yeah, I feel like you have to show them that you can stand up for yourself so that you can protect yourself out in the world. Because if you are like willing to stand up for yourself to your own parents, how are you going to do it to other people that are trying to take stuff away from you?
Yeah, that's a really awesome way to look at it, actually. Yeah. It's like your parents are the scariest people in the whole world, which they aren't when you get older.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes, exactly. But when you're a child, I mean, like, you're pretty much raised up in fear.
Yeah. No kidding. I remember I had to do 3 chapters of math before I could ask my dad if I could go on a road trip to the beach with my auntie.
Yeah.
With family.
Dang.
like little, I don't know if you guys remember, but Officeworks before school used to sell these books for like 5 cents. Do you remember that time? Guys, I'm younger than you. You have to remember this time.
No,
I was born in New Zealand, so I get a pass.
I don't really. I went to Kmart.
No, David's like, I made my own books.
So what about these books?
Yeah. Well, they used to sell for like 1 cent, and we used to buy like 50 of them.
Wow.
And we just go through them. There were these exercise books, but they were like 240 pages or something. But we used to go through like books and books of them because of all of the maths kind of like homework that we had to do.
Yeah.
Christmas was English and math exercise books, comprehension books, like vocabulary books. And I was like, I get the message, man. But also, what? I actually thought it was normal because you don't know any different as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what kids get on their birthdays and for Christmas.
Oh my God.
It's like, what, you guys don't go to school every day?
You didn't go to school after school?
Yeah.
But you don't have a tutor for
What?
3 hours
Like,
after school?
Why not?
You know what though? I only had a tutor for 2 years, and that was practically kind of just to get into McGraw, really. And then I was like, I am not doing any more tutors if I get into McGraw, and that was the deal that we struck.
I only went to tutor to hang out with girls. My mom didn't make me go to tutor. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll go to tutor, and spent my pocket money on going to tutor so I could sit in class with girls.
We learned today what silent treatment was and what being passive aggressive looks like.
I was a simple kid.
I mean, you knew what you were inspired by.
I knew what I wanted.
No lack of motivation. That's dope. But I don't even know where to go from here.
You have tutor?
Tutor. Yeah, I went to tutor. I went to I don't know, you guys know Nam Quang?
Yeah, I know them.
It was like a thing. It was like a school. So I'd go on Saturdays, and then it was at Heather Hill. So I'd go there, do maths and English, and it actually helped a lot. Like I felt like I was learning stuff that I would learn after in school. And I was like, why isn't everyone doing this? Because this makes school so much easier. Like, why am I even going to school? Like, actually, yeah. So it helps a lot. And then I was doing Viet school on the Sunday. So I was hating it though. I was like every day, like, there's like, I just want to like hang out on the weekends with the rest of the kids.
Yeah.
I have to go to Viet school, which I was terrible at.
I was pretty lucky. Ours was only one every Sunday, so it was pretty chill, and it was very much an intensive program, kind of just to get into McGrob. You can't really study for the Melbourne High McGrob exam anyway, because it's an aptitude test in the end, pretty much. Because you're blind to the questions. You're kind of just practicing these problem-solving skills. But yeah, I was pretty lucky that was it. It was just Sundays. So in terms of extracurricular stuff, we didn't have to kind of commit every single night to a particular thing.
That's good. Yeah. I didn't know you went to McRob.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, right?
I have.
Every rule. Not everyone there is smart.
Nah, I'm not surprised actually. I'm just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. Yeah.
Nah, I'm actually like, you know what? I'm not even ashamed. I love like being a nerd in every way of being a nerd. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think
nothing wrong with being smart.
I think
Yeah, nerds are cool now.
Yeah,
We're
nerds
cool.
We're cool. The real nerds are like, they're not nerds. They don't know quantum physics.
Yeah, you did specialist maths.
Yeah, no,
I did further maths.
I
Yes.
did not do specialist maths. Absolutely not. All those maths stuff, I didn't even pursue that. But no, I think intellect is awesome. I think it's not something that anyone should be ashamed of at any age whatsoever. And I think kids are really harsh on each other in high school and in primary school.
Definitely.
And then they reach an age like we are in the 20s or whatever, and they're like, oh, it's actually cool to be cultural, or it's actually cool to be different, or it's actually cool to be smart, or it's cool to have be really good at music, rather than just being seen like
Yeah.
or like
Yeah, trying to fit in.
yeah. McGraw was pretty awesome for that though. Like,
That's cool.
yeah, because I think because everyone was at such a high level, like everyone excluding me.
Don't say that. I think you're smart.
I was like sport. I think even the teachers were like, "Will she graduate?"
If all the subjects are PE.
No, I think McGraw taught me a lot. It's like because everyone is very different. Everyone is. If you kind of like get the nerds from every school together in one school, it's then normal. It's very much what society shapes it as, and if the majority is that way, then that's the new norm.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
Like, we had like chess club at recess. Like chess was a sport that we went to state for.
Yeah, chess.
Wow.
Yeah, and
I played Yu-Gi-Oh.
It's kind of like chess.
It is.
Yeah.
You get to bring your own pieces.
Yeah.
You have the plastic.
No.
I always wanted that. I still want that.
Dude, we had one. I loved it.
You had one? Oh wow.
You had buttons and it went. Then you had your deal your cards on it.
Oh my god. I just felt like it was inconvenient, you know?
I thought it was
like
so cool.
the angle was weird.
Yeah, but
you don't have the actual hologram, so
imagine the drama. The dramatic effect. Like
yeah,
it's more epic.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. That's sick.
We're not just nerds, we're Asian nerds. Whole nother level.
Asian nerd is a different kind of nerd.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's like nerd and then Asian.
It's a whole nother tier.
I love it. It's like it's a stereotype, and sometimes, like I think when you're younger, it's a stereotype that you don't want to be involved in. But as I think we all get older, I think it's definitely a group of. I would say in some instances still a minority group. I think it's awesome to be a part of it because, yeah, like you grow up and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh my god, I love pho, or like I love fried rice, or can I come to yours? Your mum makes the best, like this and that, and you're just like it's normal. But in primary school, I remember not bringing foods to school because people were like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Like pork floss buns from Bread Top.
Yeah. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, true.
One of them was like, is that like horse poo?
Oh, that's mean.
So you could get that wrong, but it definitely isn't. And it's like, we ended up just making ham sandwiches.
Yeah, because you just want to fit in, especially in high school, like primary school. You just like, I just want to be friends with everyone and just make friends. And then as soon as you do something different, like straight away, everyone's like, what is that?
Yeah.
You're just like, that feeling.
Yeah. And you hate, at that age, you don't know how to explain yourself.
You're
like, I don't know how to explain culture. Like, I don't know how to explain being different. You're just like, you can say it's pork floss. And they're like, what's that? Like, I don't know.
It's floss made out of pork.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
It's dental hygiene.
I feel like it's for our parents as well. It's a new experience because obviously it's their first time bringing their children into these environments, and it's like, oh yeah, just bring lunch from home. You know what we always eat.
Like, no, I don't want to bring this.
I don't want to bring the stinky fish, Mum.
Pretty much. Seriously, it's like, oh no sriracha today, please. But, you know, when I raise my kids, they're going to be very cultural and they'll be, like, I've grown to love tradition.
Yeah. I think in the future, people are going to be jealous.
Well, yeah, I think they already are, though. Like,
yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm going to have a dinner party and Mum's making this. Everyone loves it. And so this culture's awesome. And I think that's why people travel. Like, that's why I love to travel, because I am obsessed with understanding people's cultures because it's so cool and so different, and it's this perspective that you don't get from just talking to someone. You got to be in it. So
yeah, that's a good point. Like, you can't be racist and love travel. It just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And it's
like traveling for culture. You know?
Yeah. You can't. I don't think I don't know how people travel just to sightsee. Like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
Just to, like no offense with the Kentucky tours and the top deck tours, like they're great because you see a lot in a short amount of time. But because you see a lot in a short amount of time, there's actually no way to immerse in the culture.
Yeah.
Go through and then you go hit the big, sites,
Mm-hmm.
and you're on to the next one. But
It's too structured.
Yeah, and you spend like an hour on foot in the city, and then you're like, cool, been to that city. When I don't know, maybe you haven't been to the outskirts of it, and you haven't gone through. Like, I remember my bag got stolen in Rome, and I was like, you know what? I'm glad because it wouldn't have been a Roman experience if I didn't have a theft.
I'm glad my bag got stolen.
Yeah, stealing, cultured people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, well, because I've got friends in Rome, and they were just like, if we leave our car, we cannot leave anything in our car because that's just how it is in the burbs in some places.
Wow.
That's how it is, and that's how it is. I'm not here to change that, but it's very interesting to see and understand because you don't. Rome, you get there and everyone in the city centre is like, it's really beautiful, it's incredible. But then you step outside with a local, because I couch surfed throughout Europe, so I stayed with pretty much locals, so you get to see what they see and what they eat and what they do.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we've had our car stolen however many times. Alarms don't work because no one really responds to them.
Right.
They don't really do much because they can't really police it. So it's just something that they accept happens if you are willing to leave anything in your car. So things like that, I think, are really awesome.
I mean, it takes a lot of trust to couch surf in a foreign country, and you must trust people a lot.
I do. I trust the world a lot.
You do, which is good. But I'm curious, like, has there been like any people that you've come across that you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't sleep on this couch, or you know, like yeah, what's your radar like in terms of like gauging like the safety of certain situations?
Well, like, I think it sounds a bit reckless, but I'm very calculated in my decisions. Like, I'll read every review of a couch surfer because you can go couchsurfing.com. That's how it kind of works.
Oh.
Yeah, you can read the reviews. And
okay, so it's kind of like Airbnb, but for couches.
Yeah, but you don't pay.
Couch Airbnb. Oh, right, but it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
It's always free, and there's no expectation for a financial exchange.
That's dope.
Yeah, so it's pretty much a group of travelers, really, that want to know other travelers or might have a room spare, and they don't really care for like a one-day rent if they lose it because people really aren't there for long periods of time. But yeah, there's some wackies on couch surfing. Like, my sister had some pretty fun. I was really awesome. All of mine were like awesome. My sister had one in Ireland, and she didn't read it clearly enough, but her and her friend went to this guy's house together, and like he accepted them, and it turned out they got there and he was like a nudist.
Oh my god.
Okay. And like they were already there and they had to sleep on the couch. And she slept on the couch, and then like the next few days she was like, oh wait, that means he's like bare, but would have been right on my face.
Oh my god.
So she was like, her friend was like, what did you do? Because she organized the accommodation. So they just had to like be awkwardly there for a period of time with a nudist.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I've heard all sorts of stories, but I was very lucky. But then again, I was cautious. I was calculated in who I went to couch surf with and in which countries. And if I went there, then I would make sure that I always texted someone to tell them where I would be at whatever place it would be. Like, so I think, yeah, it's fun to be adventurous. You can still be safe.
Definitely. Just gotta be smart about it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Nice. Well, in terms of like, speaking about, I guess, growing up as an Asian Australian and culture and like, I guess experiencing other cultures. In terms of here though, what has it been like for you growing up? Because when we first met you, you were at Tribute. Shout out to Tribute Boxing, and you were the only Asian there. And we were like,
yeah.
pretty much when you first started. Now there's heaps, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tina.
You would have been slammed if there wasn't one.
Yeah. I'm like, what's going on, guys? It was cool because that's when they first kind of like got the ball rolling with everything, and we just saw you and we just connected straight away, obviously. But yeah, I was just like curious in terms of like what's it like for you growing up and being sometimes, because I know for me sometimes I'm the only Asian in situations, but I don't really like look at it like that where it's like, you know, I'm the only Asian, but it just kind of happens. You're just like, oh, I'm the only Asian. Yeah, what's it like dealing with those situations with you, and how do you find it?
Yeah, I reckon in primary school there were like 4 Asians or something, and I don't think we ever identified as Asian, because I think at that time the Asian people were like real Asian, like English as a second language, kind of maybe newly migrated, so it was like, you know, you could really, they were like the Asians to everyone in the school. Obviously I'm Asian, but it felt like there was 2 levels of Asian. There was
I get you.
and then like Asian. I think everyone that lives in Australia that's Asian is Australian Asian or whatever they identify as. I don't think there's a difference. But growing up, there was definitely not many at all. I definitely think there was like 4, and 2 of them was me and my sister.
Is this in Richmond?
No, Preston.
Oh, you were in Preston. I was gonna say.
Yeah. And then, but yeah, I don't think I ever saw myself as like Asian, like different to people until it came to cultural things, when people like what's that, or I think I've realized growing up there's a lot of differences, how we interact, like how we eat dinner as a family and rituals that we do, and like you know, when we kum, like so when we do death anniversaries and stuff, there's a whole family gets together and all that, and then there's New Year's, and there's just little things like how we cook. Like I actually didn't know how to cook with a wooden spoon, and I still don't cook with a wooden spoon until like year 7 food tech class. And they're like, let's make spaghetti and mince the meat, and there was a wooden spoon. I was like, I don't know how to utilize this.
Where's the chopsticks?
I was like, I need my chopsticks to break the mince. And everyone was like doing this, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. So in that instance it was different, but it wasn't like segregation different. Yeah. So I was really lucky. I never was I never got racism against me. I was never slurred, but I definitely have seen it in action, and it's really not nice. But yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. I think there was definitely a difference, but it didn't feel like segregation. And especially being at McRob for so many years, like with the real formative years, being year 9 to year 12, the school is like 97% Asian. So you don't feel like the minority in that circumstance. But I'm still continuing to learn our cultural differences, because we don't know what we don't know. Like I can talk to you about eating rice and sitting at the table and using the Asian sweeper, you know, the one that's like they've just cut a tree and tied it all together.
Yeah.
Like that one.
Yeah, efficient.
Yeah, I don't know how to use a broomstick. Like that one.
So efficient.
Yeah, like the one-handed
brush. It's a brush.
And brush thing.
Yeah.
So it's like those things that you're like, oh, we wouldn't do that. Or like people, we would never, I don't know if you guys growing up Asian, we would never like order takeaway, because like we would never pay for takeaway to be delivered. Like we'd order takeaway, but we would never order like delivery. We would like always go
growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, like it just wasn't a cultural thing. Like we just never did it. And then I was like, my friend's house, and everyone's like, oh, let's Uber Eats. And I was like, so luxurious. They come for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, like even pizza, like we would never get delivery. We would always like drive there and pick it up if we were going to get it. So even those little things.
Yeah. Do you know what's crazy in Vietnam? Now they have like grabs with like, just like dudes on motorbikes that will deliver like KFC or something to you on a grab, like just on a motorbike who's rock up like, here you go.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, man.
It was weird though.
Yeah.
Like it already happened. Like that's how Vietnamese people eat. People just rock up to their house and make them their food and then leave.
Yeah.
And now like it has a formal like Western name.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because like in Vietnam they just walk, like my auntie's house. There's like a lady that walks with her full setup.
Yeah.
Every day anyway. So it's like
The original Uber Eats.
pretty much. It's the
Pretty
walk
much.
by foot.
By foot.
True.
Uber by foot. Pretty much.
So how about you guys? Were you the same? Did you get any kind of racism? And I guess it's probably a good time. It's a relevant topic at the moment.
For me, yeah. I feel like even if it was like in a passive way, I think growing up in like I went to Mazenod, which was an all boys school, and it happens a lot. But it's like a thing with guys, I think, where you just kind of have this thick skin because it's like sometimes in a joking way, but sometimes it could be too far as well. So there's like this weird gray area about like racism and racist jokes. And I think just growing up in Australia, I feel like there's just a lot of it. Yeah. Sometimes it's like playful and sometimes it's not. So it's a bit of a weird one, I think, for me. But I never really like saw myself like, yeah, like what you were saying, like Asian. I always just saw people by like what they did. And I think that's how I got along with people. Like there was always like that Asian group that I was always like connected with, like, yo, what's up guys? What's going on? My peoples. But then like I was always in like other groups too. And I was always was the only Asian in the group. And then sometimes they wouldn't even just call me Asian. They'd be like, yo, Asian, yo, Asia, because I was the only Asian. And I was like, but then I'm like, is that racist?
I feel like the only difference, like, because the only difference between something being like offensively racist and just being like a racist remark, like it's about the tone and the delivery. And it's like,
the intention behind it.
You could be like, oh, you're a fucking gook, or you're a fucking gook. It's different like tones and it's like why you're saying it. But yeah, I personally didn't experience a lot of like racist remarks. I think the only thing that I got was like about the food. When I was microwaving it, everybody's like, what the fuck's that smell?
Yeah.
I was like, this is ginger stir-fried salmon. This is delicious. This is like one of the best meals of my life.
Cuisine.
Yeah.
Up in here.
Yeah.
What are you eating? Potato cakes? I love potato cakes.
Yeah, sometimes like I wish I had potato cakes.
Yeah. Mom, can I just have potato cakes today?
Yeah.
I don't want to get teased.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like growing up as like an Asian in Australia, I do feel like it happens a lot. Maybe not to us as much, but to people, like to Asian people in general, I do feel like it happens a lot. I think everyone knows that it happens a lot too, which is like a weird thing, but I don't feel like there's a lot of talk about it.
Yeah, I feel like
it's weird.
It depends on where you are, and like how many other Asian people, how much of a minority you are as well, and like whether you let it go or you fight for it, like I remember having a friend that was like from a rural town and he was Philo, but he was really Australian. And then when because he was like trying to like meet girls and he only liked Australian girls, and then when they were looking like from first glance they don't see that he's just like them, and then when they actually got to talk they're like, oh, you're just like Aussie. It's like, yeah, what did you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you guys didn't experience it, but I do think it's prevalent. But I think it's in part of Asian culture, like you were saying, you either fight it or you let it go.
Yeah.
I think it's in Asian culture that we don't like conflict, so we tend to just let it go.
Yeah.
I guess as a whole community.
Yeah.
I definitely think so too.
Yeah, like,
Which is a chill. It's just like,
Yeah. I feel like it's like an Asian philosophy to be it's wise not to speak, and let them be angry. And
yeah, it's a bit like kill them with kindness kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah.
Let them be. But I feel like our generation is a bit more vocal in terms of standing up. I know particularly in like COVID time, at the start of that, there was a lot of racism towards Asian Americans.
Yeah.
It was like really kind of really not nice to see at all, actually. It was like physical and verbal abuse for being Asian in the time of COVID and things like that. So it definitely does happen. But no, I think I was literally thinking about this the other day. I was like, with everything happening in America and like all the communities and all the minority communities around the world and how each one would react. And I was like, there's a bit going on in all minority groups, but I feel like I've never seen like a riot or a protest with Asians for. Like, I might be wrong. I might be just be completely ignorant to the move, but in terms of like taking the news and like in a really big scale way, I don't think I've seen it. And I don't know. I think it's just how we are as a culture. We're quite passive.
Yeah.
It's like, let it go, fight it in the minute potentially, but then kind of not.
Yeah. Do you think that's a good thing?
I think it's nice to be heard. I think that's a really nice thing, to be able to be heard as a community. But I'm not really, I don't like conflict myself, and I would much rather kill them with kindness as well. So I don't know, I think different things work for different people, and if it's worked in the past, then it's keep it that way, and it stays true to their culture and true to their values. And if that's the way to do it, then that's the way to do it. But I think if you are still true to what you believe in and you live life that way, then whatever that is, that's the right thing to do. I think it's hard to say what's right and what's wrong, especially right now. I think a lot of people have their say in what's the best way to respond to what's happening at the moment. And it's pretty devastating, but I understand from every point with protests, with peaceful ones, and I understand the destruction, and I understand anger, and it's not my place to say how they are feeling or how they should respond, because I've never felt it, and I don't think I ever would want to. So
definitely. No, I agree completely. I think it's a weird time that we live in. It's a crazy time, but I guess I was just curious to know your thoughts on this, because I don't know, I think it was just like interesting for me to understand other Asians in Australia, in terms of like your upbringing, your background, and how you felt about the situation. Because for me, it was like I was just asking questions. I think I'm just a curious person, and I was just like, I'm like, well, what's it like for us? Like, why are we so passive? Like, why do I never see, same thing, like Asians rioting or protesting or anything like that? And like we are such a passive, how do you say, like, type of people? That's not the right word, for lack of a better word. But the way that we go about things is usually pretty calm, pretty like chill. And the way I go about things is normally like that too, because I feel like I don't like focusing on negative things. And
I think it's because we have options. We have the option to go the other way. And I think, like, from what I see, it's like, in my daily life, it's like, do I go to this shopping center in COVID times that is predominantly Asian people aren't there, or do I go to the Asian supermarket where I won't get like looked at differently, and I would opt for the Asian supermarket because it's like, it's smoother life, and it's like,
Pick the
I think we
smooth
just-
route.
Yeah, pick the smoother route, right? And like, I guess the conflict really happens overseas when they don't have that option,
Mm.
you know, and it's happening no matter what.
Yeah, it's just one or the other.
Yeah. I just feel like we're very comfortable, I think, in terms of Australia as a whole. I feel like everyone's a bit more laid back, which is understandable because of the conditions that we live in.
Mm.
And there's, yeah, go on.
Like, I think laid backness is amazing, but then sometimes we use it as an excuse to be ignorant to things that are happening right under our noses.
Exactly.
That's becoming a lot clearer to people now, particularly with what's happening in America. And I think it's giving a great voice to Indigenous cultures and people that have been really affected for so long that haven't been heard. So yeah, as much as ignorance is, as being laid back and chill and going with the flow and not caring is awesome, sometimes it's actually cool to care.
Yeah. I feel like the attitude is, oh, as long as it's not happening to me, I'm all good.
Pretty much, yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, I haven't been racially slurred or discriminated against, but I don't appreciate any form of discrimination. Like,
exactly.
I remember, like, when I was, for my 21st birthday, I did that ride from Adelaide to Melbourne, and that was to reduce homophobic behaviour in sport. Because I'm just not, I don't know, I don't like conflict, first of all, and I don't understand the concept of not just allowing everyone to do everything with the same opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, that concept of not letting people do that is harder to grasp than the concept of like excluding people.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like, I don't, like, my dad obviously has experienced racism because he gave us all English names on purpose because we have quite a unique last name, and like both my parents are full Vietnamese, so I'm definitely 100% Asian, but we have a last name and it's Roan, which doesn't sound Vietnamese on paper. Like, mum's Nguyen, of course.
Represent?
Yeah.
My brother?
Could be.
Yeah, probably like some distant relative. But we've got like a really non-Asian sounding last name, and Dad gave us all really English names like Catherine, Angelina, Jennifer, Nicholas, to help us get jobs in the future.
Oh, wow.
He's like a real forward thinker.
Yeah. He's very calculated as well.
Yeah, he thought like way down the track, and he was like, what name on paper will give them the best opportunity to get a job? And it was the most Western name he could think of.
Yeah, and it's crazy, like a lot of like refugees coming over and changing their name, you know, just to fit in.
I remember one of my friends like in an ESL class, in the first class, like, okay, these are a list of English names. And he's just like, I'm Frank from now on.
That's awesome.
Shout outs to Frank.
Yeah, shout outs to Richie.
Yeah.
Did you hear that part where he's like, because I'm sure he'll be cool with me sharing this, but his real Vietnamese name is Bin.
Yeah.
And people were calling him Bin, like Binny, like, you know, oh, Bin, you're a Bin, like,
God,
yeah.
yeah.
And then after that, he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to change my name to Richie. And we're like, why? He's like, because I want to be rich.
That's awesome. That's funny because
I was like, yeah.
My girlfriend's dog, she was telling me this yesterday. Dog's name is Bin. And she was like, I'm going to call it Ben because bin is rubbish bin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah, I remember like doing like the role at high school, and then I was just going down and I saw this kid's name, Dat Ho. I'm like, oh, poor kid.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it's common, you know, because like it doesn't mean anything else. Like, I mean, like in English sense, overseas, but yeah.
Yeah, and then you gotta like fix pronunciation, and then you gotta like every time anyone like spell your name over the phone, like just no one.
Yeah.
Dad was pretty forward thinking.
Nice. Dad sounds like a smart man.
Yeah.
He's pretty smart. He's pretty good.
Nice. That's awesome.
Something popped up in my mind while you were talking about your cycling and sports and stuff. I just remember in high school, our teachers made us watch Cool Runnings. You guys watch that in high school?
I watched it during like wet day programs.
Yeah, that's a pretty good film to show kids, right? It's
You ever watched
the
it? The Jamaican bobsled team.
yeah, it's a Jamaican bobsled team, and they pretty much practice bobsledding, but they have no ice in Jamaica.
Yeah.
So they go to the Olympics not ever practicing on ice, and they just practice on this cart with wheels the whole time. And then when they go there, they just have the best time. It's just awesome. Cool runnings, yeah.
That's a classic.
Yeah, it's classic.
They're really fun skits, by the way. If we remade Olympic sports,
Yes.
it's an opposite condition.
Yes. In the opposite conditions, yes.
Like snowboard down a skate ramp.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like ski.
Cool skits.
That would be awesome.
Just rock up to skate parks in like full ski outfit.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm down. Once things ease up a little bit, we gotta make some videos together, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm keen. I love a good skit. I love it.
Yeah.
Have you guys been busy with video stuff?
Yeah, it's we had a little bit of a like break, I guess. But now that things are slowly easing, did a lot of planning and stuff, and we're just kind of really trying to move in towards like more storytelling in terms of our videos, and so skits is a part of that as well. So it's fun for us, fun for client, and it works in terms of just like engaging with people and just like telling a story.
Yeah.
And so so we're working on that. We're also working on a film based on growing up in Australia, like the Vietnamese refugees. That's why I like thought of you as well, in terms of like just telling that story, because there's no film that we can watch that is about growing up in Australia, coming from Vietnam, growing up in Melbourne, you know.
Well, that's what my podcast had started off being. Was I realized that I would tell people with stories of my parents, and they were like, "This is otherworldly," because it's so.
Yeah.
It was like, I think I don't know, but I think 90% of people our age or my age who are here in Australia now had parents that fled the war.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the timeline, that's the generation. So if you're here and you're Asian, your parents 100% or close to 100% would have arrived by boat to somewhere.
Yeah.
And my parents remember all of their stories so vividly.
Yeah.
And they tell the stories all the time. But as kids, you don't care to listen because you're like, oh, it's my parents' stories, whatever. But you don't realize how different these stories are to any other person. Like, not every country was in a civil war at that time, you know. And they have like my grandma was imprisoned for 2 years. She lives with us now. Like my dad was also imprisoned. My mum and my dad and all my uncles and aunties escaped on a boat. Mum was on for 28 days. Dad was on for, I think, a similar amount of time. She was 19 or 20 or something. And like, she remembers like dad and my grandma were pretty much living in poverty. Like dad was working from 14 to sell whatever he could to make money to buy bread. And then that was it. And then my grandma's sister, who's staying with us now, she, for like, I think she was saying like 2 years or something, was eating like a potato a day.
Damn.
And she was, so that she could feed the one bowl of rice they had to the kids. And like that was for ages. And like mum was like, our boat was shot at in the first night that we got out.
Wow.
And like if you had a baby or if you had a kid and the kid started crying, it's either you don't, in some other boats, you either don't get on the boat or you throw the kid off. So it was like,
Damn.
And these are like my parents' stories. It's not like my parents telling someone else's story.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of history that we can learn from our parents, but no one really seems to ask or to document So it's awesome that you guys are making something because that'd be sick.
Yeah, it's in the process. Yeah, so we're just doing that research at the moment and interviewing, and just like trying to grasp our own understanding of it before we tell it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's ridiculous, like what they've been through and how they just like, like you understand where they're coming from now when we talk about strict Asian parents and like, yo, you got to go to school. You like, you have so much opportunity here
Yeah.
compared to like, pretty much like I risk my life for you to, you know, study here.
Yeah, they did though. Like, if they didn't want to raise a family somewhere better, they would have just stayed in Vietnam.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like they could have just been like, well, this is my destiny, this is my life, I will stay here.
Yeah.
But they all have sights for the future, and it's all like I now understand exactly where my parents have come from. Like I'm happy that they were disciplined when we were young. I'm glad that they were like tiger parents. I'm glad they made us study hard. I'm glad they were hard on us. I'm glad they taught us respect. I'm glad they taught us tradition. I'm glad they forced us to go to, like we had to go to Vietnamese scouts when we were young. Like I'm glad we had to go to Vietnamese school. Like I'm just glad, because otherwise we lose a big chunk of culture and tradition and the appreciation for it with us, and it stops with us because we don't know enough to then continue that to our kids.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I feel like if there's some Asians or out there, I would highly recommend asking your parents some questions.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes it's hard to ask those questions because it's a sad time. And like, you know, as we were saying, like with Asians, like we prefer not being in conflict and not talking about conflict as well. Because it's just like, I guess bringing up those memories would be tough. And yeah, the interview that we had was tough too, where he was like reliving it. And I guess like, you know, going through that, you probably don't want to relive it. It's like, so that's why I think sometimes we don't have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's tough to have that conversation, but I mean, yeah, you got to learn.
But like, even if you don't ask, it's more so listen then. My parents are always telling us stories. Like, like, oh, like I went to school. You know, we all make fun of them. They're like, well, I used to walk 10 kilometers to school. Times are different now. Relax, Dad. But if you listen for long enough, they'll tell you why you had to walk 10 kilometers to school, or set the scene, and you'll understand it a bit more. So I've slowly have realized how much our parents have done. They're pretty awesome.
Definitely. So yeah, that's what we're working on.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
You guys are doing cool stuff.
Hey?
You guys are always doing cool stuff.
I think it's the same with you. Like we just like doing stuff that we love. And
if we
hated it,
cool stuff is fun.
Cool stuff is good to do.
It's good.
We just want to do cool stuff.
And I'm like, that's cool. Maybe I'll try to learn how to do that. Like I think you guys like I'm pretty sure it was you guys like did some video, and there's lots of motion graphics. Like, it was a dance video, I think, and you had like lines sometimes in the silhouette.
Just effects and stuff coming up all over the place. Yeah.
I was like, that's cool. So
it's fun. Yeah. After Effects, Adobe, just wing it.
Just go for it.
I only use After Effects. I don't use Premiere.
Oh, really? You edit always when After Effects?
Well, like unless it's a film, then I'd use Premiere. But I rather After Effects for things like social content, because a lot of it's like tiles, and it's like UGC stuff, or it's like fun animation stuff. It's not like I'm producing a video. But I much rather After Effects because I don't know, I think one, it doesn't kill your computer, because Premiere just like I'll turn it on and then my computer go really like shut everything else off and just like be like, when is it gonna crash? When is it gonna crash? When is it gonna crash? So I'll like quickly do my stuff.
Command desk.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, but After Effects is like it's not as heavy, but then you can. I just like being so you can control so many features and things that you want in it. Like I feel like you can manipulate more, and like basic color correction you can still do on it. So yeah, I love, like I only really use After Effects.
Nice, that's cool. Interesting. I might try a little bit more in terms of editing and stuff. You've inspired me.
Yeah, like just transitions and stuff. They're so good. and like masking is really awesome on it and really chill. And they've also got a autofill, content aware autofill now.
Oh, cool. Like Photoshop. Yeah.
It's for motion.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So like you can literally like say like a drone on a beach, you can literally remove the person walking on the beach.
Yeah, I've seen that kind of stuff. Like I think removing shadows that's really good for that.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's I don't know, I like it, and it's just easy to use and got keyframes and stuff.
Sounds fun. So in terms of social media then, who are you creating content for now for people who just want to check out your work and that kind of stuff?
So the main one that I'm like make the most content for is BloomFX. It's a skincare brand in New York. And then I kind of run the Match and Maiden. I only recently kind of tag team with Sarah for Match and Milk Bar, but they're very much more UGC. We used to do more, that used to be more photo shoot based rather than content creation based. Whereas BloomFX is a lot of creation based. So like video tiles and like announcement videos and like actual videos and IGTV stuff, and even simply like product stock images where I normally have changed the background of it to something, or manipulated photos, not in like faces and stuff, but in terms of like it used to be a white background, now it's a pink background, and it's like all that jazz. So BloomFX is where there's all of content creation happening. And then Match and Maiden, Match and Milk Bar, I used to do Capital Group, which is construction group, which I don't do anymore. Yeah, and then I just consult for a few people. But BloomFX is the number one. People can check that out and just have a lot of fun.
So, well, that's cool.
That's cool.
Look, we've been chatting for an hour and a half now, and that went by pretty quick.
Yeah, that went by super quick.
Holy shit. I just looked at the clock, I was like, damn.
Sorry, I didn't. I was just chatting. I can talk until the cows come.
No, it's good. It's good. It means we're having a good podcast. So
that's cows.
Do you have cows?
Well, I'm vegetarian, so I definitely don't have cows.
That's how you keep your cows.
Yeah, no, I keep them all. I in my Preston front yard. Hey, now come here.
Hello.
Hello. We got, for people that are listening, Angie's mum just walked in.
What?
She's a trendsetter. Her top is on back to front.
Oh, cool. Hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. We're just doing an interview about being Asian.
That is
Pretty much. We are also Asian.
You can have the rice, being an Asian, you have the pho,
Exactly.
you have paper roll.
Yes.
Preach.
You have a lot of Asian fruits.
Yes.
Fruits. Yes. All the healthy food. Be in
Fresh.
But you don't have to sell it. They're already Asian.
I don't know if someone can become Asian. If you want to become Asian, we have a lot of good food apparently.
Yeah. Nice talk. Nice to meet you guys.
Good to meet you.
Shout out Angie's mom. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, there's an audience.
There's
5,000 people.
5,000 people.
Yeah.
I feel bad. Please tell her that it was just us three.
Okay.
That's
Love
cute.
it. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's good. They're all good.
But yeah, so my last question before we wrap this up would be something that we've asked a lot about guests. If you could go into a time machine back to, let's say, 10 years, and you just kind of jumped into this time machine,
Wow, this question has evolved. It's usually much simpler, but go on.
It is, yeah. So you jump into the time machine, you come out, you see yourself from 10 years ago, you know, eating your bun bao or whatever it is.
Yeah,
You're like, oh my God, I have one thing, I have enough time for one piece of advice to that 13-year-old Ange. What would you say before you have to go back in the time machine?
I would say tell your parents you love them.
Would you want to elaborate on that for us?
I just think like time's short, and like the quote always says, don't leave inspiring things undone and important words unsaid. And I don't feel like we express as Asian kids. I think being like real lovey-dovey is not a thing. Like
Yeah,
definitely.
hug heaps, like mum heaps, but like not as much. You know, it's just not as much of a thing. And I don't know. I just think I've grown up appreciating my parents a lot more, and I wish they knew that. And I think as sometimes teenagers are a bit hard on them. I wouldn't say anything else because I don't want to change how my life's panned out.
right.
Because my life's panned out so like just awesomely. And if I feel like if I told them anything else, then there's an expectation for it to go somewhere or be something or do something. But simply just telling your parents you love them can change their life a little bit. I don't want to change mine.
Boom. Wow. Nice. You get it, audience. Wow.
Everyone in the audience like crying.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Mom's like, is that for me again? Mum's gonna like pop out.
That was beautiful. I love
that's
that.
awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
You guys have answered that question?
We have.
We did answer that with Andy. I think.
Has your answer changed?
Nah, still the same. Well, now that you said that, mine's like tell your parents that you love them. Well.
Mine is tell your parents that you love them because my life is so awesome and yeah.
I wouldn't have to experience the things that I would have gotten to experience.
Sure. Yeah. If I could go back, I would definitely add that on to what I said. I think what I said last time was learn. Just like
Yeah, that's a good
don't
one.
take learning for like granted. Like just like
Yeah.
Which I don't think you do though. You know, or maybe that's
Or
a
maybe
lesson
back
you learned.
then,
Yeah,
I didn't really care. I was
Yeah.
just doing stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
No.
mine was along the lines of like meditating and being more present and learning that at a younger age.
Yeah. Oh, actually, with now that I think about it, if I could
Can't change your answer.
if there's two things, I'd say look after your mental health.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely something that we are all guilty of not looking after our mental health, and I think it's too stigmatized. I think you can't get away with anything. I think you can say you're anxious, and then people will be like, "No, you're not."
Yeah.
You'd be like, "Oh, I'm actually depressed," and they're like, "No, you're not, because you're not diagnosed." Or
Yeah.
you know, so I think mental health is massive.
Definitely.
It's sad that it's so hard to tell people that you're depressed.
Yeah. Like in like 2015, I probably had like the darkest year, and I just was probably part of the reason why I went traveling, and probably the reason why traveling was such a big thing. Like I felt it's so life-changing. But I'm the first to admit that I don't have the best relationship with my mental health. Like I think on the outskirts, on the outside looking in, it's a very bubbly Ange, which I am like 99% of the time. But there's definitely like I get irritable, and you know I'll lash out with my family because I feel like I can, which is really not a good thing to do. But yeah, I don't think anyone's really living this perfect life of it's all balance and awesome games and stuff. So look after your mental health.
Yeah, sure. I feel like I have my days as well. Like I'm always like super happy and bubbly, but I have those days where I just I think what really resonated with me was when somebody said that like being healthy isn't like you eat a salad and you're healthy. And it's
Yeah.
the same as like mental health. It's not something that you achieve and you will be like mentally healthy forever. It's something that you take day by day, and you can learn or like build your environment to make it work for you. But
Yeah.
you know, things can change, you know, and yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that's a good one. Good one to end on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, at the end of the day, like look after yourself, and like what you said, like love, you know, tell the people, as cliche as it sounds, it's like tell the people around you that you love them, like your parents. And I think, when it's rooted in that, like everything kind of falls into place.
And I hate that love has to be cliche or cheesy. You know?
I know, right?
Love is like one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah.
I love love so much. Legit.
Yeah, like real love, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have a happy family, then everything else around you just, it's a nice place to be coming back to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Have love in your life.
Yes.
Love it.
Love.
Yep.
We've done it. Oh my god.
More awkward. We're like, I wish it wasn't cliche. Yeah. You should add the cricket sound to your list of sounds.
Oh wait, I have it somewhere. No, it's not that one. Oh, there it is.
Hello.
Oh, that's good.
We totally saw you.
That was good timing.
That was good. Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
No worries.
Thank you so much.
We'll pick up properly soon.
Yes, in person, and we can hang out and eat a banh mi or something.
Yeah.
Nah, it should be good. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited for everything that's coming along.
Yeah, thanks so much for jumping on, and it's always nice to talk to you. I think this is the first time we actually like got to talk.
Yeah, we're always banter, just banter.
Yeah, which is fun too, which is great. Like we love that. But yeah, it's nice to sit down and actually catch up with you, and you know, spend some quality time actually having a conversation. Because I think we got a glimpse of it during one of the tribute shoots when we were asking you questions.
Yeah.
But I think this was really nice, and
I feel like all of our interactions have involved recording or a camera. So we have to go to like a cafe and just have coffee and not record you, not film you.
Me being an absolute goof or doing something stupid or like going to an Asian grocery and
you know what? Like I appreciate that so much about
I loved
you.
it. Yeah.
I think that's why I was like, I like this girl. She's funny.
It was, you guys turned it into like the perfect like little snippet of me because I was like, some people don't get your sarcasm, and I was like, oh, this could look really corny, but it was like the perfect thing. I think
the pacing was good, right?
It was
all about timing.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's catch up definitely in soon in the next 2 weeks or something.
Sounds good. Well, enjoy the rest of your Friday night and your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
And we'll catch up with you soon.
Bye.
All right. See you, Ange.